And we're live.
Hey, here we are. Do it right this time. This is the inaugural episode here. The Improper Critics and I, myself, am Adam or Risen Guy. You can catch me at basically anywhere from Instagram to Twitter, and I will forever say Twitter because...
Who calls it X? Nobody calls it X.
Nobody. And of course, and for myself, for those who don't know, I am a gamer, as we all are, and I guess I would say favorite game list would include something like Mass Effect, some old school Dragon Age, very tactical games, and now we have Baldur's Gate 3. I'm also a Dungeon Master, D&D Dungeon Master myself, and I got with me here lifelong friend, oldest buddy in the world.
Oldest. That is true. So my name is Derek, otherwise known as Mr. Jericho. Been gaming since 1994, before it was the cool thing to do. Let's see. So we're talking about favorite games of all time. I'm a huge Souls fan. So Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls, Elden Ring is a personal fave. Also really love Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 1. Those would definitely be my top five games for sure. I'm just happy to be here, Adam. Happy to share some time with you and talk about video games. We named our show Improper Critics because we are very opinionated. So I'm excited to see kind of where this takes us. But yeah.
I know that's my mentality because I threw out like 2 or 3 random ones and you gave 5 solid games and I'm thinking like, fuck.
Yep.
Thinking like, man, I have a better list than that. I know I have a better one somewhere.
We should have come prepared.
Oh, yeah.
Should have come prepared.
Entirely unprepared. That was very off cuff, and I'm thinking, man, Dragon Age? No, we can do better than Dragon Age. But yeah, we're just gonna here to talk about some things that we're kind of into right now. We've been gaming basically, like you said, forever, as long as we could. I was always one to play everything I could get my hands on, no matter what it was. I was gonna dabble in it a little bit, and think we have enough experience, right? So if not direct knowledge, then just pure wisdom that we have here to offer.
We definitely have the wisdom, right? Like, I think about the games that we like, and I would say I cover a wide variety. I think you're more of like our RPG single player kind of guy. But one thing, I'm thankful that you're getting back into DBZ because I cannot speak on fighting games at all. And I'm sure, we'll talk about that later when we get to that segment. But I'm excited. I think between the two of us, we pretty much cover all walks of gaming. Would you agree?
So there's one that I'll probably say right off cuff that we don't really, I know I don't cover at all. And that's going to be any kind of sports games. Sorry, y'all. Sorry if you're a sports games fan. Actually, no, I'm not going to say sorry. I'm going to say
play better games.
It's kind of your own fault. Yeah, play better games. Like, sorry, you guys have been accepting trash for 10 years now. I used to love playing sports games back in the day when we had like football. We had what was it? Blitz? Blitz.
NFL Blitz and NBA NFL Jam. Blitz. Right?
If they ever came back, now I'm ready to go. But I don't know about Jam. Did they do? I don't know if they did another Jam. I think they might have done another one.
They remade it. Yeah, they remade it. But it's just the nostalgia, right? Like the whole "he's on fire." Like you can't bring it back.
The arcade sports games. Even just the different sports games. Sports games are year over year rehashed, redone. They take out one piece of the game, they put in a piece that they took out 10 years ago, and they tell you it's new, and they just keep on moving modules around, and I'm not in for it.
You're basically paying for roster updates, right? I don't want to go down that spill, but that's basically what it is, right? Like every year, you just pay for a roster update. They should just make like a live service game and push a season. That's what I would do. But they got to milk that money.
But the thing is that would make sense. The thing that would actually be being generous on their end if they were to make it live service and just let you buy new stuff, because it's already live service with a $60 per year membership fee.
Yep, for sure.
That's exactly what it is. But anyways, we're not here to talk
about sports games. Yeah, who gives a crap? How do we feel on that?
Exactly. we got into that as a simple disclaimer as to why we probably won't cover sports games unless we're here to tell you about some of the Tom Zero Supercharge and go out there and, and I do not regret it. I do not regret it. There's been some recent little purchases here or there in my life that I do regret. Sparking Zero is not one of them because it has thrown me into a whole wormhole of just like every now and then Dragon Ball has something come out that's a reminder of, oh yeah, I fucking love this franchise. See, there it goes again.
Beep.
But beep beep. Because I love this. Like, it's so good. It's all just so epic and so just like over the top in the best kind of way. And my childhood came knocking loudly, kicking at my door.
Kamehameha.
Kamehameha. It was just a random dude out there screaming at the top of his lungs. And I couldn't resist, and I gave in, and I bought Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And it is Sparking Zero. For anybody saying sparkler or sparkling or Sparking Zero, because what you are doing out there is you hit that Sparking Zero supercharge and go out there and, and I do not regret it. I do not regret it. There's been some recent little purchases here or there in my life that I do regret. Sparking Zero is not one of them because it has thrown me into a whole wormhole of just like every now and then Dragon Ball has something come out that's a reminder of, oh yeah, I fucking love this franchise. See, there it goes again.
Beep.
But beep beep. Because I love this. Like, it's so good. It's all just so epic and so just like over the top in the best kind of way. And my one complaint I would give for the game is
hold on, before we get into the complaints, let's talk about
okay.
Tell me what you like about it, right? So what obviously I know you're a huge DBZ fan, right? You always have been. And but if you take that side of it out, like, kind of like we talked last week about Harry Potter, right? Like, I love the Harry Potter game. But I also know I love that game most because it was Hogwarts, right? I've always wanted to explore Hogwarts. So the brand, right, played a factor of enjoyment. So let's take that piece out of it. Tell me what you like about the game outside of it just being able to play as Goku and all of them.
That is a tricky question because if I had to honestly say, if this was just any just random characters in there and it was anything like this, if this was not Dragon Ball Z, I probably wouldn't play it.
Oh yeah?
I probably wouldn't even have thought to have bought it. Like, if this was the exact same game or the equivalent of for like Naruto, I wouldn't care. This is very much, and I don't think it's a bad thing, very much a game for Dragon Ball Z or just Dragon Ball in general fans.
For sure, yeah.
Like, if you're not that, if you don't care about Dragon Ball, like, I'll give like Hogwarts this. And if you don't care about, like, I played Hogwarts and I don't care about Harry Potter, it's not my franchise. It never really caught me that way. And it was all right. It was whatever, like, I think if you're used to fighting games, this is going to be very different than like other fighting games. Like, you cannot be a Mortal Kombat fan, pick up Mortal Kombat and get in there and make with the hands and be, oh, this is fun. Oh, you get the basic. This is such a different, because this isn't like a straight up like brawler like Mortal Kombat type game. This is an arena fighter. It's 3-dimensional. It's all very opened up and everything like that. They're coming at you from every angle. A lot of it's about timing. A lot of it's about knowing how to like take advantage of very particular openings and stuff like that. I go online and I get dominated on that. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that is not where I'm at just yet. I'm still working through all the story stuff, and I think that's where a lot of like the super like the Dragon Ball fans are gonna be for a while, and then they'll move into the multiplayer and stuff like that. But I do think you have to have at least an appreciation, if not an outright love for Dragon Ball and all things Dragon Ball to really get that like great feeling for it. But if you, at the same time, if you're unfamiliar with Dragon Ball, it could be it's a perfectly fine like rundown through Dragon Ball. It does what all Dragon Ball games do, right? There's so much Dragon Ball that's out there. They just simply
There's a lot. Like, there's a
they
lot.
just rerun you, yeah, and they all do the same thing, and that's what got kind of so bland about them after all of the like we were from a time where there was a new Dragon Ball Z game. They came out like freaking Call of Duty at that point in time,
For sure.
right? Like they were just always dropping new ones, but there were different ones for a while. I remember there were some that like had like an overworld where it was like, you know, you move your, I can't remember which one it was, but you had to move around the overworld and kind of get that little strategic kind of slight element to it down. And then at the same time, you'd get in and be the same kind of normal 3D fighter and stuff like that. But like it got so kind of just that's all it was that it phased out because people were kind of buying the same thing, going through the same story. And this does do what those do, and it goes through a whole straight story, right? And it goes through the traditional story of Dragon Ball. It skips over Dragon Ball itself. It starts off, you know, you go from Z up through at this point up through Super, and I think they're adding in. I know the characters for the Daima, the new one that just came out. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any kind of story like expansion adding onto that, but either way, I'm here for it. Like I am a Dragon Ball fan. I'm still doing the story mode and stuff on there, and this one gives you a straight through path for those who might be unfamiliar with it. If you're like me and you are familiar with it, then you're going to play those story modes, but except for certain events, you're probably going to skip a lot of it because they don't do anything new with that on the kind of ground level.
Right.
It's not played out. It's not all like CG like videos or anything like that. It's not all, you know, animated and stuff. It's mostly done in kind of comic book like still frames with like, you know, the slight movement to it that kind of supposed to make it look alive, but it still is basically just a comic book kind of exaggerated outline of the thing, which, you know, the manga effect and everything like that. I get it, cool, but it's a little lazy if you really think about it. But so you'll skip through a lot of the nothingness there, but then it switches it up because there are challenges you can do that offer you alternative paths to like what's going on in the game, what's going on in the story. Like from my understanding, if you beat like, you know, in the very early parts of Dragon Ball Z, like the first, you know, little arc there, the Saiyan arc, if you beat Vegeta like within a certain time limit, like when you first face him, like just go in there, just beat him down real quick, then it can change the path where you have the chance to like go Super Saiyan there on Earth well before you ever make it to fighting Frieza and stuff like that, which is a crazy change up. And I think it all just kind of arcs back into itself, right? Because it has to, but it gives you little things to kind of try to explore something different. Plus, it gives you the option to go back and play through different characters' eyes, right? You can go back and play as Goku Black, go back and play as they have a Frieza one, I think. Like a bunch of different, like you can play as the bad guys and kind of, you know, have. But at the same time, it still all boils down to all that you really do is play those fights out again from
the original story, right? So like,
exactly.
so I can hear, you know, I can understand why when you say it's kind of a love letter to Dragon Ball Z fans, right? Like it takes all the lessons they learned from like Budokai and the other fighting games that they had, and turns them up a notch and allows you to relive through those experiences. So what I'm hearing though is, as a Dragon Ball Z fan, you love it. And if you're not a Dragon Ball Z fan, there's a high probability that maybe you won't.
It's gonna depend on what you're into. Like if you're just, you know what you're getting. I don't care who you are. You know what Dragon Ball Z is, right? You can look at a 30-second clip of the game, and you're seeing what you're getting. That's what you're getting. People doing outstanding, insane maneuvers and stuff like that. It's gonna play a little different, but if you see that and it looks cool, then you're probably gonna love it. Okay. But if you see that and it looks like, you know, just not something you care about, then it's probably not for you. If you're looking for a Mortal Kombat, looking for a Tekken, it's probably not for you.
Okay.
But if you think that it looks cool. If you like those cool big anime looking fights, because it all looks very the way it all plays out. Like when you get there, you can actually go on and just watch other people fight. Like that is an option to go on there and do, and you will see some of these like really good players going there and just zipping all around each other. It looks like the anime. They're zooming back and forth and just unleashing these insane abilities and transformation. And it's a cool, dramatic looking fight. It all looks really cool. Like if you see that and it looks cool, then you'll probably have fun. The story mode is fun, and the game is difficult. Like they don't make it easy on you. It is a challenge to go in and play the game and fight stuff. So it's not like you're going in and getting some game you're gonna cakewalk through and get this freaking little that you're gonna cakewalk through and just get this very easy like experience. You're gonna fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I heard it was difficult.
You're gonna
I heard it was very hard.
People talking about
like the Dark Souls of fighting games is what I've seen thrown across the internet.
I've heard that like the Elden Ring of fighting. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's necessarily true because we'll save my thoughts on those kinds of games for the future. But I pushed through and I've beaten everybody so far. I finished the Goku arc, and that's where a lot of the they beat you down characters were. But they do make you work for it. It's a rough game, and there are a lot of people that you will sit there and fight over and over again. Mm-hmm. But eventually you got to get good. Like I'll tell you what, you want to know what the best players are doing? They're going and they're actually going into that training room, and you just go in, log in there, set the other person on different stances and stuff like that. Put them either on guard, so you can go over and attack them and test the guards of that character and kind of see where it breaks at, see where you can approach them through to where they can't. Like if you can hit them here and it breaks their guard, you can get over here before they have time to. I watch videos on TikTok that show like people basically going in there like freeze framing, like look at this, watch. When you go in and you boom, boom, boom. And then he does this, and then you zoom around here. It takes him a whole animation. He's stuck in that animation to turn around. So once he moves here, you boom, zoom there. Now you can hit him freely as he has to turn here and then make another rotation to turn back. That's all open frames that you're doing damage. People are breaking this down to like, and that's kind of how it plays. It very much plays as in like, how do you, it's all working within the animations as opposed to just like, fight, block, yada, yada, yada. It is very much a, it's like if someone took rock, paper, scissors and then added like 25 other categories there, like ways to approach, ways to, fend off and everything like that. Cause that's what it all is. When they come at you and they make this approach and you make that approach, which one is going to beat it out? And if they lock up, who's going to win this little competition and stuff like that? And it all just plays out insanely well.
So let's talk about like skill gaps, right? Like as I'm not a fighter, I don't play fighting games. The last fighting game I really got into was the Pokemon fighting game on Switch. I can't recall what the name was. But what I learned was my son, who was like 8 at the time, could play Ducidai and just hit one button and stomp me, right? Like he could just literally just hit the one button and stomp me. But he could go online and do the same against other players. So it was very beginner friendly. There were easy combos to pull off, but there was also a massive skill gap in a sense that those who learn their characters, learn the combos, learn the tells, they would literally dominate you. So what is that like for Dragon Ball Z? Like, is it something where there is a skill gap that if you don't know what you're doing, you are going to get steamrolled? Or somebody like me who has no experience, could they come in and do well?
So you have like rankings in there, like as you start off at, is it like D3 or something like that, a real low number and letter combo that you have to like, beat so many people and stuff like that to build it up to kind of earn your way a better, win ratio and stuff like that to increase your rank. And so if you're going into ranked, where you actually have to play to change that and stuff, then yeah, you're probably going to face some people in there. And there is, unfortunately, a meta to the game, but it all kind of comes down to, you know what, and I think this is almost a kind of funny kind of way to think about it to me, but I always thought the message from Dragon Ball was always like, if you put your mind to it, you can overcome and succeed anything. And there is a lot of that going on, right? You'll see the videos and stuff of people where it's like, I think Vegito and Gogeta, pretty sure Super Saiyan 4, I don't know, one of them. There are metas. People have gone in and laid out like the numbers of, how much they can possibly output damage versus how much they can take, and yada yada yada, and laid it out. And there are characters who are like objectively the most powerful characters on paper in the games, who go in there, and they're mostly the ones who are like running things on the ranked end side. But there are players who have figured out like little tricks to go in there and wear them down and stuff like that. And a lot of time, it's funny because it's using a lot of those weaker characters weaker characters who kind of get lost in the background there, because like Yajirobe, right? He's the little dude who hangs out with the cat, the guy who makes the sensu beans and all that. And like in the show, cowardly, doesn't really want to get involved, talks a lot of trash and everything like that, but at the same time he'll tell you like what are you doing? I'm getting out of here before the real bad guys start. I ain't messing around. Y'all got me jacked up. And he just dip out, he's not playing.
Right.
But sometimes he'll come in and he'll slice something, and he's the one who cuts off Vegeta's tail when he's a great ape, and kind of really saves the day there if you kind of think about it. And like,
is he the one that has the turtle?
No. That's Master Yoshi.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Oh no!
Did I derail your train of thought?
Is Master Roshi. Oh, so why did I say Yoshi? You said turtle. My brain went to Mario for some reason. Oh no! Look, there goes all my Dragon Ball cred. Oh no!
You're ruined on the internet.
No, they all know. Yeah, but I mean, it's but if you go and play in non-ranked, you can find different rooms where there's lower end players and stuff like that. There is a downside, is that there is local like versus, but you're restricted to the only map you can play on is the time chamber. So, which is a cool map on its own, but it's the only map you have. It's kind of weak because some of the maps are freaking like.
So that's on local multiplayer only, right?
Yeah, local.
But you played online, and you've done you do well, I guess. Have you done any tournaments online?
No, I have not. Like I said, I've still been spending most of my time in the story and in training mode, which honestly, it is a game where if you want to get good, that's where you're going to do it in. Like beating your head against the wall in there, trying to play like all these ranked matches and stuff like that, just getting beaten down more and more. I think it's just going to frustrate you. It is a game where it is definitely worth going in there, going into training mode, and figuring out who you're working with. If you're going to just go for the obvious and go for those, main top end metas, or figure out, because it's not just like a straight up one-on-one like game as far as how they play. When you go in there, there's different modes. One of them is you get a point value, right? And each character is worth a certain number of points. So you build your team based off of that, and then you go in there. So are you going to make a team versus a couple of medium guys, a bunch of small guys and stuff like that, or some people who are just throwing in these big Gojitos and everything like that. Yeah. So I mean, there's stuff to learn.
For sure. Well, that's like any fighting game, right? There's always going to be somebody who's better than you.
Some of those are more universal. Yeah. Like that's the thing, is that it's kind of defies against the whole like much more universal approach to games. It's very much like if you play one shooter, you can probably play any shooter, right? But it's not the same as saying like, oh, if you only ever played. Trying to think of a good comparison there. A shooter that's just so out of pocket compared to other shooters like that. Like, something or just incredibly different. Oh, all you've ever played is shooters, so all these, someone says here, I'm giving you a shooter game, but then they hand you Grand Theft Auto, which has its shooter mechanics, but it's a very different kind of mechanic that's put in there, right? So it's not going to play the same. You got to learn how to adapt or learn how to adjust. It's not that universal. Oh, if you hand me Tekken, if you hand me Mortal Kombat, if you hand me Street Fighter and put it on random character, I'm going to get in there. We're going to work with it. If you hand somebody a random stick on this and say, here, fight, they're going to get beat down because they're not going to know how to charge up. They're not going to know how, there's
so every character plays different.
Being able to play. Yeah, you can go in there and throw a punch and stuff like that no matter what. But if you want to be able to actually keep up, to zoom around them, to boost up on them, to go put your big ultimates and everything, you got to know how to do that, how to charge up. Otherwise, you will just get absolutely mollywopped. But what I will say is that the game itself, it is a beautiful love letter to Dragon Ball fans, and I think it would be amazing, absolutely amazing, if this being the game that is just kind of just such a, hey, here you guys go, here's something awesome, a lot thrown in there. It like sparks this renaissance, right, and get some more different things kind of put out there, right? I was hoping that Dragon Ball Kakarot was going to be more. It's gonna be something different,
Right.
Something more along the line. If we could get a Dragon Ball game, a simple story Dragon Ball game, like in the vein of, I don't know, Devil May Cry, or maybe even God of War, like that cool, straight through action, just focus on a cool little element, just give us that power. We're not restricted by, whatever else it is, balancing or this or that. Like,
I don't know if that would work. So, so when you think about DBZ, what do you think about? You think about the big fights, right? Like, there's never really at least to my knowledge, there's never a scenario or a story arc where you have one person going into like hell and fighting off demons, right? It's always this bad guy's here. They're trying to steal the Dragon Balls, or they have a Dragon Ball, whatever the situation may be, and we need to beat them at all costs. And the story are the fights, like the one-on-one or the team fights, whatever the situation may be. So I don't see a world where a action RPG would work with Dragon Ball, or maybe that could just be my lack of experience.
Well, I mean, a lot of that with anything else, you're flushing it out, right? So Dragon Ball is, in and of itself, it's taken from like other, old like mythologies and legends and stuff like that. As far as I understand it, the I think it's got like something like the Monkey King, which is also then related to that Wukong game that just came out recently and stuff like that. Which you see right there, right? That's a good example. That is a game that is just based off of something else, a story. A story, an existing story that had basic characters, elements, villains, good guys, yada yada yada. But of course, you have to flesh it out a little bit. And Dragon Ball is full of, henchmen and Cybermen and all kinds of little, minute in between things. But even that, if you're taking it, so I don't think it needs to be an open world, like more boots on the ground kind of Dragon Ball game. That's not what I mean. Like I'm not saying, oh, let's take the Dragon Ball game and kind of make them more heavier and put them on the ground and stuff like that and have it play like, some World War or some not World War Z, some Days Gone type game where you can fly around, but otherwise, there's enemies everywhere and stuff like that. I mean more like a straight narrative through game, oh, you are a young, you can just start off at the original Dragon Ball. You're a young Goku coming out of the woods, and now you're facing off against the, you have the Red Ribbon Army chasing you down and fighting you and stuff like that, and it's just creating a narrative going through there, same as any other game would. You can always write a narrative in there, and in that capacity, I think you could tell some cool stuff. Like again, it's not something, I don't think it would be the hugest budget stuff. I just would like to see, since it is getting the attention, them take more chances with it and kind of see what works. Because so far, it's always been a continuous remix of what has worked.
Right.
Which is always like Kakarot was the biggest diversion from that. And at its very core, it was still just that. While they wrapped it in your ability to be, Goku and, whoever else and fly around the open world and stuff like that, at the end of the day, once you went to the mission spot and started that mission, it turned right back into the same Dragon Ball game it's only ever been, which is, the narrative, the fight, back to an open world to fly around a little bit, which I enjoyed flying around. They give you all kinds of little quests and stuff, but...
Well, before we go on to do you recommend it, which it sounds like you do, let's talk about the elephant in the room. No crossplay. What's up with that? It's 2024. Multiverses did it. Almost every game is doing it. Why is there no crossplay? That's what's preventing me. I'm on PC, right? Like you and our other friends are on PlayStation. I'm not going to spend $70 on a game that I can't play with you guys, because that would be my primary factor, right? So why doesn't it have crossplay?
I honestly think they underestimated how big an online Dragon Ball Z on balance. Keep in mind, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, all Dragon Ball, it's all on balance. Remember the show, the whole joke, it's all by 9,000,
right.
All that stuff. The numbers have never made sense, right? The scaling is always just... But, so, technically speaking, if you pick Krillin, and you pick Super Saiyan God Goku, you're probably going to murder this little guy. And
so it stays true to that.
Yeah.
So there are okay.
There are ways around it. People have beaten people with using loopholes and just trying to trick the frames in the games like that. And I think that's kind of an amazing thing in of itself. If someone, because it's so funny, if someone comes in there with Gogeta and they have the best character and they have a high ranking, and then someone beats them down, someone absolutely mollywops them with Master Roshi, or like any of the smaller characters and stuff like that. It's hilarious. With Hercule, with Mr. Satan, hilarious, so funny. I've seen people use a glitch where you can get someone just caught in the cycle of him doing this little ultimate move over and over again, where he throws you a little present, you open up and it's a bomb, and he just fucking, by the time you're recovering from that, he catches you in the frame to do it all over again, and just until you die.
Yeah, see, I would be the person that just gets stomped, because I just don't have patience for things like that.
Again, you just got to work at it. But I mean, I think as far as the crossplay, I don't think they were expecting it to be the big online success. I mean, because this game went from Dragon Ball Z's coming out, cool, and even me, a Dragon Ball fan who's on the fence, oh, I don't know if I can swing that right now. I'm playing other stuff. I'm doing other stuff. I just got Space Marines, but I had to give in, and apparently, I was not the only one, and all around the world, there were many, many millions of people who were like, "Oh, that Dragon Ball's coming out! Oh, get that Dragon Ball!" Right?
Right.
like people were not playing, so just overnight, it was just boom, here it is. So I think that they weren't expecting it, so they probably weren't putting. I've said it for a long time. Dragon Ball fans have oftentimes gotten the short end of the stick when it comes to content. They rehash things, they put it back out. They are not very generous with the offerings. I feel like as generous as this game is in and of itself, with all the characters it has and all the arcs that it covers and everything, and all the different diversions and just within the story and stuff that you can get into, I think the fact that a lot of what's there is there itself is already kind of wow, that's a pretty... So it seems like that's where they went with the skipping out on stuff, is making it all crossplay, which I don't understand why. I don't know what the exact mechanics are in the background there, how much it would have changed the budget for them to go and do that. But what I do believe, I do hope, is that someone over there is saying, "Hey, you guys, we just unexpectedly released the biggest fighting game of all time. out of nowhere. Who'd have thunk it?
Wait. All time? Come on.
Yeah,
They're Smash Brothers. There's just not. It's not.
I'm sorry, didn't it just? It wasn't. Or maybe I'm misstating. What is it? The fastest selling fighting game of all time, or something like that? It's got one of those numbers up there already.
I'd be curious to know.
Live in the future.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best and fastest selling of all time, selling 15.7 million copies by September 30th.
Yep. See, that is insane. If they don't capitalize on that and say, "Hey, let's not have this be a one and done."
That was Smash Brothers. That was Smash Brothers.
Oh, that was Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Ultimate. Yep.
Well, what did
they did great? Like I'm not disputing what has happened with Dragon Ball Z.
I mean, they sold 3 million units in like a day. Like that's a lot. And
it's pretty good.
I think they're up a lot higher than that now. So maybe I misoverheard again. I've been on in a bubble of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero videos for like a couple of weeks now. So maybe the propaganda is getting in my brain there. But the point being, they sold a lot more than they were expecting to sell of this game. And hopefully someone is going to go back and say, hey, we gave them a quality product. Let's give them one with some longevity on it. Enough longevity to hold us over until we can really capitalize on this, which means releasing more varieties of games and also maybe getting a sequel going for this game. Because if you let this one die out, then people are going to look at your game even when it comes out later. What you don't want to be, because there are a lot of games that I play that are really good, and it's like, cool. That's cool. But then the sequel comes out. A good example I can say is what was that game? Ashen. What's that game that we all played together? It just had a sequel. Which one?
Are you talking about Ashen? Or
no?
Okay. I'm about to say, I don't think Ashen 2 has come out yet.
No. It was. It's gonna drive me crazy. Anyways, I'll think about it and I'll find it and I'll quote it in a moment. But it's
So it sounds like you do recommend it, right? Final thoughts on Dragon Ball?
Remnant.
Oh, Remnant. Okay.
Remnant.
Yeah,
Remnant. We played Remnant a lot and it was great, right? We had a good time with it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and it kind of just
we burned through that game.
We burned through it.
Played it nonstop, 100% of it.
The next one came around. Yeah, by the time the next one came around, it was like, I mean, yeah, it was fine, but I didn't care. I burned through it in 2 weeks. A game that I'm going to burn through in 2 weeks, I'm not going to buy at launch. I'm going to buy that in like 6 months because when it's going to go a little cheaper. If I buy it at launch, I expect I'm going to play you for at least a month.
Yeah, for sure.
At least a month. Unless you're like a franchise that I'm obsessed with, like,
There's just too many games right now. Right? Like you have to be a little bit more selective. There's just not enough time in the day,
Exactly. But final thoughts on Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. If you are a Dragon Ball fan, get it. You will love it. It is a must play for Dragon Ball fans. If you are a traditional fighter fan, be wary. It's very different, but if you're open to it, check it out. You probably like it but don't expect it to be. Don't come in with that nonsense. Don't come over here talking about, in Mortal Kombat, you just got to do a little backstep there. Nah, we're not trying to hear that. All right. If you do not care about Dragon Ball, or if your game feeling fair is important to you, don't play this game.
Avoid it at all costs.
It is not fair.
Respect.
It is not fair. but it's fun. Like, so, but other than that, on a personal level, from me to anybody who falls within the categories of the similar minded, definitely recommend. I would give it if it had a little bit more with the story and like something a little bit different there as far as like presentation, I could probably bump it even higher. probably give it like an 8. I think I'd
Okay.
give it a solid 8.
That's a solid score. Can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. Well, but keep in mind with me, I want to set like the standard right here. When I say a 5, if I say a game is a 5, then I am saying that game is average. And there are so many games that are average. I hate the average, the current scale of games where like if someone gives a game a 7, oh, they said it's basically trash. A 7 is a good game. A lot of your favorite games out there, people, are 7s. I don't care what you say. A couple of my favorite games are some 7s out there, but I just click with them and I enjoy them and I accept that. Like, but let's be real. Like, I'm sorry, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 was probably like an 8 and 2 was probably a 7. I love them both. You know, it's okay. It's okay. Not all games have to be a 10 to be real good. But my scale is a 5. So when I say it's like a 7, or when I say in this case it's an 8, it means that it is above
average.
The standard, above average.
Not amazing, but above average.
And it's not amazing, right? Okay. They went above and beyond, but they could have, you know, it's not perfect, you know, but it's great. I love it. But, you know, I give my stamp of approval.
I love it. Well, let's move on.
All right.
What am I playing?
What are you playing?
So this week has been an awesome week for video games. I have mostly spent my time with the Diablo 4 expansion. I really loved Vessel of Hatred. So I did finish the campaign on Friday. I'm kind of taking it a little bit slow. I'm not, you know, I've been playing Diablo for as long as Diablo was Diablo. Diablo 2, just a little bit of history. Diablo 2 was my game of choice in high school, like to the point where I had a mule account where I would put all of my items and I would literally sell those items to kids at school. And so when Diablo 3 came out, that was one of the first games that my wife and I 100%ed. We both got our platinum trophies on that. Diablo 4 came out. It was the only game I pre-ordered last year. And when the Vessel of Hatred was announced, I immediately pre-ordered it. Like, I am a Diablo fan. Like, I think we both know that. Right? Like, I love Diablo. So,
no doubt.
So Vessel of Hatred was a no-brainer. So, of course, I get it. Love the Spiritborn class. It's like the perfect blend between monk and witch doctor. You got the speed of the monk, but you got the dynamics, so to speak, of the witch doctor, because you're very much in tune with nature, right? Like you get to use your jaguar, your eagle skills, stuff like that. So I really do enjoy the new class. I love the new changes. I feel like a lot of when Diablo 4 first came out, a lot of the end game took steps backwards compared to Diablo 3, and so a lot of people, it just didn't grasp. It didn't grab you the way Diablo 3 did. Like I love Diablo 3's rift system. And so when Diablo 4 came out, I feel like they were trying to tailor it more along the lines of an MMO as opposed to an action RPG, right? Like they introduced mounts, they introduced dungeons, they had the open world experience, which on paper sounds great. But in reality, it just wasn't as great as we all wanted it to be. But what I'm seeing now is a shift backwards, right? Like we have different in-game activities that feel very similar to what we loved in Diablo 2, which was what bell runs and cow levels, and Diablo 3, which is the rift system. So really liking the direction Diablo 4 is heading. I have not hit really in-game just yet with the expansion. My Spiritborn just hit level 60 on Friday. I didn't really get a chance to play yesterday, but I plan to continue playing that. You picked it up though, right? You got the expansion. What have you spent any time on it?
I am at the I got the last, you know, I've already basically finished as far as the game itself. I am at the last bit where I am just whatever like wrap up, epilogue, you know, stuff is going on at the end there.
So you did beat the story?
Yeah. I beat the story. I just finished off the final, who I assume is the big boss. I can't imagine there's going to be a bigger one. I mean, it was cool. It was fun. I was a little underwhelmed with the story stuff.
It is. It's hard to, because like in my opinion, the Lilith storyline was amazing. Like I loved that. Right. Like, and then the climax of the battle between Lilith and Inarius was I remember wanting to replay the campaign just to watch that scene play out a second time. Like that's how good it was. And there wasn't really any of those moments in the expansion. The expansion storyline really just kind of feels like filler. It's bridging the gap between hopefully something that's better. Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, like that's where we're crossing back over into them trying to rebrand the idea because it seems almost as if this was kind of presented like as if we're to be thought of like an expansion, right? Like the Necromancer expansion from 3, right? I can't remember what it was called, but
but that came with a whole new act, and I mean
exactly
that was an amazing expansion.
Exactly. But now what did we get for, I'm pretty sure as much, if not $10 more maybe than how much was, what's it called? I can't remember what the actual, expansion that came with the Necromancer was called, but like,
whatever Reaper of Souls. Like how do we forget that? Literally, how do we forget Reaper of Souls?
I haven't played Rickon in forever,
but it was $20. $20 when it came out. $20. Yeah, which is nothing.
So this was twice as much, cost twice as much, and I'll even forgive the price difference. Right? Let's say inflation, right? $20 then is $40 now. We're not even thinking about that. But could you even say these were on the same scale as each other, especially for something that's simply setting up for probably another $40 expansion?
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, right? Because there's a part of me that's like, it's Diablo, so it's worth it to me, right? But the other part is value per dollar. And when you have games like Baldur's Gate 3 or TCG Card Shop Simulator, right? Like when you have games like that, I mean, it's hard to say, is it worth $40? I mean, if you're not a Diablo fan, is it worth it? Absolutely not. I do not think there's $40 for the content. A lot of the improvements that I was mentioning are available to original Diablo 4 game owners, right? Like what does the expansion do? So it has a lackluster story. It has mercenaries, which I think are really cool, but should have been in the base game. It has a rune system, which I think is really cool, but should have been in the base game. It has different layouts for dungeons, different approaches to how you do dungeons, which are really good, but should have been in the base game. So it's really hard to say, is it worth $40? I don't think it is, but I love it. Yeah, right?
You're paying at $40 for them to do what they should have done to begin with.
For sure.
Oh, hey, we're fixing our game that we sold you. Give me money, please.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what it feels like. The class itself is not worth $40. I mean, the class is great. It's really fun. It's fluid. It's dynamic. You see big numbers. You fly all over the place. You're constantly dodging. You're seeing. It's a great power theme. It's not a $40 theme. It's just really not.
The Necromancer was part of a $20 package before,
for sure.
So even if you break them up half and half, the Necromancer worth well over $10 if you break it in half. I would have paid $20 for just a Necromancer and gone back and replayed the regular game
easily.
But I would not pay $20 for the Spiritborn to go back and play through Diablo 4.
I agree. I agree. I would agree with that. Like I said, I love it. I definitely recommend it. I would buy it again, but that's because of what Diablo means to me. But I do not think for the average consumer it's worth $40. I really don't. And that breaks my heart a little bit. I feel like Blizzard was rushing to get it out because PoE 2 comes out next month, and that's going to change some things. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that switch over to PoE 2.
Oh yeah. There's a couple of places that I watch where they have some,
And PoE 2, for those that don't know, is Path of Exile 2. But go ahead.
Yeah, they have some more old school Diablo players, and a lot of them. That's I don't say. Why would you play Diablo 4 when Path of Exile exists?
Yep.
And I'm like, I mean, first off, Path of Exile though has its own stuff. I'm sorry, a game where the common wisdom is start your character level to 70 and then start over again now that you understand how the game works.
Yeah.
When that is the common wisdom to play in your game, sorry, bro. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I get that.
I'm not doing it.
I get that.
I'm not doing it.
There's a part of me that loves that aspect of it. Like I love like when Diablo 2 Remastered came out. I bought it and I loved it. And I will continue to love it because that, like I said, that is a huge part of me in my high school years. But yeah, like, you know, it's very akin to that because if you mess up your stats, which, you know, fortunately with the remaster, you could respec, but in the original Diablo 2, you cannot. And I don't know. I do agree with you. But I think Diablo and just like most games these days are kind of leaning more towards the casual crowd. They want to make it easier for anybody to, if you make a mistake, it's easy to clean up the mistake. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's just another kind of symptom, another example of just Blizzard being Blizzard, which is to say not really Blizzard.
Yeah.
Like,
it breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah, it's a company that used to be, their games were just, again, in the vein of, at that point in time, they would have been the, you know, Larian Studios out there making the Baldur's Gates of their time and stuff like that. And now, I mean, you guys are basically EA. Worse, you guys are basically, oh my God, you guys are like one step above the EA Sports of the gaming industry. The only ones, actually, one of their departments there is on that level. Because if you look at the Overwatch team, that is Blizzard's EA Sports right there. Like, they've basically just become that. Like, they try to sell you stuff. Again, it is kind of sold like it's an expansion, but it's not an expansion. You are paying, I guarantee you, the math on this is you are paying $20 for that for the character. And then you are paying $20 for this little season thing that they put out there because.
Well, and the $40 doesn't even include the season pass, right? So you still have to get the season pass if you want the cosmetics.
That right there is another challenge wrapped up with this a seasonal thing that they just put out there. Like, I don't know. It's disappointing.
It is.
But think about like not to your degree. Like, I know you're much more of a Diablo fan than I am. They're not always my main brand of games. You know, I'm more into more, you know, personal, more like one character or whatever RPG styles and stuff like that. But I've still always enjoyed them for their, you know, much more archaic, much more like just the power leveling of it, the power fantasy of it, and everything like that.
Right, and that's why I love it. You know, you start out level 1, you're smacking a zombie in the face, takes you 5 hits. By the time you're level 70, you're literally clearing rooms. Really,
this game does give you that.
You do, for sure.
Born does fulfill a power fantasy. He does get pretty strong in there and stuff like that.
For sure.
Overall, I can't say I'd recommend. I would say if you're a Diablo fan, like a hardcore fan, you've already bought it. Why are you even asking me? If you're not really into Diablo, if you just don't care, then again, why are you even asking me? If you're on the fence though, if you're like me, the game came out, I got Diablo 4 at launch as well. I played it, enjoyed the campaign, in-game kind of lost me. So 1 or 2 seasons I came back and, you know, I played for a little bit. I have a couple 100 hours in there. It's not like I didn't play the game at all. Like, I played a lot of Diablo 4, but overall, this one, I don't think it's going to keep me around. Like, I would probably recommend waiting for a sale. I don't think it's worth the current price. I think, like, if you can get this for $25, then maybe snatch it up. Wait until they announce the next expansion, which is going to finish off this expansion.
I would agree, which breaks my heart to say. I would love to say, hey, it's an instant buy, but I agree with what you said. If you're a Diablo fan, you probably already have it. If you're not sure if you should get it, I would probably hold off. I just don't think the value's there. I really don't. I think the class is great. The new area is awesome. Stories lackluster. It's everything we already said. No need to rehash. But yeah, I would say wait for a sale, even though expansions very rarely go on sale. or just completely skip it. I mean, like I said, Path of Exile 2 comes out next month, and that is going to sadly probably be the superior game. But outside Diablo 4, I'm still playing TCG Card Shop Simulator. That is, I cannot stop. I've quit the game twice, and I just keep getting pulled back in because these developers are just adding so much to it. So in the last week, I finally hit shop level 100. So I've gotten all the achievements available because that's who I am. Also, my shop is massive. I'm averaging like 40,000 a day just on regular sales. I have 6 employees. I have all the different card packs unlocked. And also, at this point, I'm debating if I want to install I don't know if you know this, but there's a Pokemon mod for the game that turns all the Tetramon into Pokemon. So you have card packs, like your plushies are now Pokemon. Your deck box, like everything, like even the card tables are different. It's a pretty cool mod. I've seen a lot of streamers use it, and I've just, I don't know, man. I just feel like that takes away what the developers have poured into it, So that's the whole reason why I haven't.
Yeah. Also, you're just helping Nintendo build their case. See all these people who are modding it in there. Blah, blah, blah,
yeah, they'll shut it down. Like they'll shut it down.
Or is it helping their case? Because they'll be like, oh yeah, if we were ripping off Pokemon, why did someone make a Pokemon mod? Wasn't close enough for them, was it? Oh,
yep.
See?
Yep. But
the system within the system.
Highly love that game. It's just, I got it for free, but I would 100% pay full price for that game 10 times.
I keep on seeing on there. It's like $12. It is like almost just out of pure stubbornness that is what I said. Play is this person here said. He said play the table card game. I'm like, yeah, I got the demo. I played way too much of that demo there. No.
I have 80 hours into that game.
How is that? See, games like that, they hypnotize me. Let's say like that's in there with like the Power Wash game and any of those little simulation games. I sat here and all right, I'll tell you. So I sat here and for far too long played a bus simulator.
Oh, I love Bus Simulator.
Yeah, it came out. You get to set your own routes. You get to buy different and more advanced and crazier, bigger buses that are more difficult to drive. And I was in here and I was just singing to myself, driving, but like I was having the time of my life. And then all of a sudden, my brain clicked. I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like, what am I doing?
Dude, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I think as we get older, our idea of what gaming should be is changing. Like when we were younger, in our 20s or even our teens, my idea of gaming was competing Call of Duty, and signing up for tournaments, getting sponsors, competing hardcore in Call of Duty. And I did well with that. And then, Halo and then all of those different games. But now as I'm getting older, I'm like, I work a very stressful job. When I get off work, I just want to chill, right? Like I want to just enjoy gaming. I want to, whatever that may look like. Is it escaping or is it just relaxing? That's why I loved like Stardew Valley I played that game way more than I'm willing to admit.
That's why I haven't always been much more of a solo or cooperative gamer. There've been some games. The most recent one that I can say like has really pulled me in to where I was playing like an online competitive game like regularly or excessively would have been I think Battlefront 2. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I played that one like I got some high level Sith Lords up in there. But
that game breaks my heart, man. Because like think about it. If it launched the way that it ended up, it would have been a worldly sensation. Like that story would have went completely different.
We'd be getting number 3 pretty soon if that were the case. But
easily.
Like I've always preferred to play games that are more like I don't want stressful, all this and that stuff. I'd always prefer games where either I'm getting some kind of an interesting story or building a character or whatever like that and going on an adventure, or a game where I can play like cooperative with friends. Like if we sit down and play Halo, I want to play. Let's play the campaign and run some missions. That's what I want to do.
For sure.
Which somewhat rolls into the best game for those who are like me, who want that camaraderie and not all this splitting, all this infighting. For those who need a purpose, something to bring us together, we have Warhammer, Space Marines 2.
Are we switching segments? I think we're switching segments.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I will say this. I'm going to put a pin in it because I played 12 games from this Steam Fest, and I want to talk about my top 5, but we could talk about that after Space Marine 2.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear about some of those because I was checking some of them out. I didn't get to play a lot, but I was checking some of those out. But yeah, Space Marines 2. Brothers in arms, all you out there, come rejoice. Bring glory to the Emperor. Yes, that is Warhammer for anybody who is not familiar with it. I myself am only more recently becoming familiar with it. We've always been aware of it. It's one of those things, same way in the same vein of how I got into D&D, which is, so I've always known about it. I've always had a basic understanding of it, but never really dived into it. With D&D, I just found the game and dived into that. With this one, it was a different route. We've played other games. We played the Warhammer, not 40K, just regular Warhammer, the Vermintide.
Play the Vermintide. Yeah, the 1 and 2, which were great games. They were fun.
Great, right? Well, this is like if they said, "Hey, you want to take that game, but instead of swinging around a bunch of little punky, puny little sticks and swords and blades and axes, you want to be giant 8 to 9 foot tall, manly men with giant cannons for arms and armor that puts Iron Man to shame." Oh, hey. Yeah, you hear that little tink sound? Yeah, that's aimed from the inside of my armor. Guess where? Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I feel like it was more along the lines of, hey, let's do Space Marine 2, but with Warhammer, and let's do Space Marine. I'm sorry, not Space Marine. Helldivers. Let's do Helldivers 2 with Space Marines, and let's do it even better. Let's follow suit and ruin the game with one update.
See, we haven't even gotten to talk about the amazing love for the Emperor, which the game makes you embrace before we get straight to the negative. I understand. So Space Marines 2, awesome game. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw quick ratings out there because we are not new to this subject here. Everyone else has already talked about it. So basic rundown. The game itself, the basic game, I'd probably give the campaign
7 out of 10.
Probably give it a 7. Like, it's cool, but it's not anything like a particular, like, oh my god, ooh, but it is really cool. A lot of cool action stuff, very, very Doom-esque. Where it really shines is the operations, in my opinion, the co-op, the going in there as teams and tearing through it. And the only thing I would have complained about it before would have been that there weren't enough of them. They could have used more operations. I think Space Marines 2 is suffering from the same thing, a similar thing to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and that's these games coming out, which I think they don't have the crazy, insane budget and expectations behind them as a lot of these other really big games like Call of Duty and all those behind them. So I think we're getting an example of what we used to get back in the day. Like, there's this whole thing about, less is more. Like, games back in the day were so crazy, insane. They do a lot of cool stuff and had a lot of cool hidden things in there because they had to be creative because their resources were limited.
Yeah.
And I think these games, not being the big AAA super over budget games, they're being more creative and more thoughtful and trying to just put more blood, sweat, and tears into it. And it's really producing solid products that are outselling what they were expecting, So I think it could have used more content, but I kind of see it probably doesn't have the budget of what we would think it did, at least as far as I know. But then they finally did give us a new Operation 7, which is a very solid operation with a very, very awesome boss. But yes, as you mentioned, along with that update came a number of changes.
Let's not spend too much time on the changes, but can you give us a rundown of what this update did and why people are not happy?
So there are certain things that got kind of nerfed. From my understanding, the melta gun got nerfed, which has been a favorite of a number of players because it does insane damage and in a very nice wide little grouping. It's great for clearing crowds, and if you get up close enough, can really hit hard on some of those big bosses there.
It's like a shotgun effect, right? Almost to an extent. Yeah,
basically. But it's like a shotgun mixed with a little mini grenade launcher or something. Like it hits hard, like and really out in front of you, can really clear off big swaths of enemies. But I think the biggest real kind of outrage is really kind of a misunderstanding there as far as people who are seeing it versus those who are actually going there and playing it and making the complaints as far as what those complaints are. So they added in a new difficulty. This difficulty has a modification to it.
The tether? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, tether.
Yeah, tell me more about that. I haven't played the newest. I haven't played the hardest difficulty. Yeah. I've only played the previous ones, which were also updated or changed, and that's what most people are upset about. But tell me more about this new difficulty and why people are upset about this new mechanic.
So the new mechanic itself is, the way it works is you have to be within a certain distance of your group. Your group has to stay together. If you guys aren't together, then you cannot recover armor, which is basically a death sentence, because that's how you stay alive, because you're gonna get hit. You lose armor, you recover it, and that's how you keep going forward, right? But his new ability, if you get too far apart, you do not recover that armor, which on its face seems like, oh, okay, whatever. But the issue is that in this game in particular, that is exactly opposite to how the game is played. A number of these classes, like if you are me and my main is an assault, which is the guy who flies up and rockets down. So I'm oftentimes zooming off ahead of people, hitting the big guys and smacking them around. I might get smacked a couple times, but the plan is I'm going to take those hits, keep doing my combos, and then I'm going to get plenty of chances to recover damage or to recover my armor. But since I'm no longer by my group, now that basic method of playing is no longer valid. Same thing goes for like the sniper, who their job is to stay in the back and snipe. So obviously they're not going to be right next to the group, which means they can't recover any armor even though they're playing their role correctly. Now, my only thought to this is maybe they had a different idea for how their game is being played, and if that's the case, then fine, whatever, but they need to do the opposite. Like you mentioned Helldivers 2. Helldivers decided this is how our game is played, and if you're not playing it that way, if it's not being played that way, then the problem is that we're not making them play that way. We got to go in here. Oh, you guys like this little blocker right here? Oh yeah, is it really helpful? Nerf. Oh yeah, like
on take away the fun. Like why would you take away the fun?
Yeah, exactly. Because listen, here's the thing: if there are 10 weapons in there and everyone is using one weapon, then that is because that is what they want. They want that experience that one weapon is providing. So your solution to everything is not to take away the thing they're enjoying most. It's to figure out, how do I make them enjoy these other things more?
I agree with that. Like, we could do a whole podcast on why nerf as opposed to buff, right? Like if there's one gun that's super strong, why nerf it as opposed to bringing everything else up to that level? And I feel like Helldivers 2 definitely dropped the ball in that area quite often. But I am concerned with why Space Marine 2 decided to introduce this tether. Like nobody asked for that. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I think it was a bad call.
It makes sense in the terms of if their goal was just how do we make the game harder. The game isn't necessarily easy, but once you get in the rhythm of things, like trust me, going into before the highest level difficulty was 4, going into difficulty 4, what could be very dangerous, very challenging. I've done a number of times now. Like I said, my guy is a full ranked assault guy, and I go in there and I can for as long as I'm with a good team, I wreck through there. I wreck in the game. I am in there countering and just smacking things down. Like I've gotten really good at it because I've played it a lot. And so adding in a more challenge, figuring out, okay, well, our game's already pretty challenging. Things are dangerous. Things will kill you if you're not like very on point. There's not really much we can do as far as just give them more enemies so they have more people they have to tap the button on, which there are more enemies as well.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Like, why would you introduce a tether effect when they already like doubled up the extremist count, right? Like now when an extremist spawns, it spawns 2. Like, so that alone would have been enough to make this difficulty more challenging. Why add a tether? It just makes no sense.
Maybe they were thinking like something in the lines of similar to like some of the old Halo games, how you could set like higher difficulties and set on those different like modifications. If you wanted to really up the challenge, right? Maybe they're thinking just, okay, well, other than if you're going to take out 30 Xenos, 30 Tyranids, then you're going to take out 40 Tyranids. You're going to take out 45 Tyranids. You're going to do the same thing. It's going to be just, take you longer and all that. So all you're doing is really increasing the time it's going to take to finish this section. And maybe that's not, because again, at a certain point, that can become very much annoying in and of itself. Just if the only way that they're increasing difficulty is just saying more enemies, that gets boring. And that's coming from like a Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master perspective when I'm planning, like a fight and stuff like that. If the only way, if the progression of the game as far as getting harder is always just, oh, what's the difference between that easy fight in the bar and that hard fight in the cave or the castle or whatever like that? Oh, there was just more people. That's boring. It gets boring after a while and it just gets, tiresome. So you want to add in, if not new creatures, then new modifications, new kind of attributes to the game. I think the real issue here isn't that they added in something like that. It's that they added in something that shows such a lack of awareness for how their game works, which is the kind of the more concerning thing to me. It's like, come on, you guys made something great. Don't drop the ball here. Don't prove yourself to be like morons who got lucky. And I don't want to say, like there's people working on something. They made something great. No disrespect to them. Like they're making something I could never fucking make a game myself. Beep. But still, like I don't want them. I love the game. I play it as much as I can. I wish I had more time to play because I really get into it. And they've really got me into the Warhammer lore. I'm ready to start buying the miniatures and painting them and throw my life away. Get divorced and all that kind of stuff. But
that's a slippery slope, my friend. You're going to spend a lot of money. I was concerned, so much with the the update that happened because there was a lot of things that changed that they didn't really talk about, and the problem with undocumented changes is developers can take it one of two ways. One, they can say, "Yeah, we made a change, but we didn't tell anybody about it because we didn't think it'd be noticeable." Or two, they can push it off as a bug. And what comes to mind is the dodge. Like, did you notice? After the update, your dodge is much shorter. So previously, whenever you're playing, perfect. I play. Why can I not remember the class that I play? Was it Sentinel? No, what do they call the one with the shield? Bulwark. So I play Bulwark, and previously, if an AOE was about to happen, I could easily dodge out of it. But now, when I go to dodge, I'm still within that AOE circle, and it's almost impossible to avoid. And the words that I've heard from the developers is that I don't know if they've even acknowledged it. At least they haven't the last time I saw. So I don't like that. They did make a couple other changes to some of the other difficulties, like they impacted
on the dodge issue. Can I say, and meaning this to everyone out there playing, all my brothers. And I mean this with all respect. Dodging is fucking easy. If they made it a little bit harder, it's still not that goddamn hard. Get good, I'm just saying, it's not that bad.
It is bad when you have
back on the other modes. I've gone back and I have played on the lower things. I haven't touched difficulty 5 because again that modification to it is so counterintuitive to the way the game works. I'm just like, I'll wait until they fix that, right? But I still go back and I've still been playing with the changes, whatever else they've implemented in the regular modes there. The dodge still works.
It works, but it's not about timing. It's not about anything other than the fact that the dodge is shorter. So if you're going to change the dodge distance, you should reduce the AoE size. It's not about getting good. There's something that you can do differently, right? And it's important to acknowledge that because the developers haven't. It's not about getting good. You have an unblockable attack that you have to dodge. Like, it's a mechanic that they introduced. You have to dodge the attack. But when you go to dodge it, your dodge distance is reduced and you can't. How is that the player's fault?
I would need to actually see that.
I'm surprised you haven't as an assault class.
Like what attack are you referring to? Oh, I guess I could see, because some of those ground, I'm referring to like the ground AoE attacks and stuff
right,
like
that's
that.
what I'm referring to. They swing on you, you're in the middle of the radius, you go to dodge, you're still in that radius.
It's set to where, like, if you don't do it immediately, you have no delay time there.
Right, exactly. And so that's a problem. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how they change the update going forward, or what changes they make, because they did announce that they are going to be pushing an update in that changes that's going to reduce.
There, by the way, she has no boundaries. I don't know if they can hear you, but
yeah, we definitely cannot. But yeah, they did acknowledge that they pushed some changes, that they weren't happy. They're hearing player feedback, and they are planning on pushing an update this week to make some other adjustments. And I have a feeling, I hope they address the dodge, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
They've got you, because there's no way they're not aware of and constantly being like bombarded with the Helldivers 2 comparison. So they have to know. They have to be telling themselves, okay, I mean, Helldivers 2 is just now and of course it happens after Space Marines 2 comes out, but they're just now finally supposedly being like, oh, well, now that there's another game that's similar, well, better than our game, and everyone has that option, now they're flooding. Everyone stayed somewhat when this was the only game even similar to this, but now that there's another option, they flooded. So now we're going to go back and reverse everything and start trying to fix some of the stuff they've been telling us for a year now is just boo-boo garbage. Right? But yes, they can.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You're not invisible.
Yeah, we can definitely see, Sarah.
I'm not. Yes, we can definitely see. Oh, you are a pain in the... I'm sorry. Pretty sure I checked this room out.
I was nervous there, but I say, "Oh Lord, what's about to happen?"
Yeah, right. Like, oh, come on, baby. Because anyways, but like, they've got to be saying, okay, we're not gonna do what the number one game that we're being compared to did. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna do it the right way. We're gonna go back. We're gonna address these things. Now, I get when there's a creative like vision or something like that to something, and not giving in on something like that. But like, oh, I think you should change the way this person dresses, or I don't like it, and you should make this person this or that thing, or blah blah blah. Like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, leave them alone, ignore those kind of fans. When both of your fans are saying, dude, you made a good game that we like, but this thing about it is just like not good. We live in a day and age where if they'll sell it to you broken until you wait to fix it.
Yeah, we've all become glorified beta tester these days.
Yeah, exactly. But then they want to act all like, oh no, you don't, no, we'll get to those other things when we get to it. Like, no, bro, fix this,
Right.
And I think if they fix it, and they keep delivering on what they've kind of planned out. Because I'll tell you right now, out of all these games, while I do wish there was more to it as far as like the operations and some of that stuff, which they did just add one free, adding in more later for free. Like, I do wish there was more to it there, but on the just overall picture when compared to a lot of other games, similar games, Space Marines 2 is like extremely generous as far as all the stuff that everything is all unlocked within there and stuff like that, all the base stuff and the extra DLC stuff that you can buy, the expansion even. You know, I bought the full ultra ultimate, hey, sorry, you don't need to feed your kids this weekend package. And you know, the expansion that comes with it, the DLC is just all cosmetics. All the other stuff that we're getting, everyone gets it. If you buy the game base, you are playing the same game. We'll be in there together. I might have a fancy helmet on, but you know, we're still going to be brothers, and we're still going to do it for the Empire.
I do love that about the game. I do feel like it's one of the first games that have come out in a while that I feel like I get the full package for my retail price. And so when they pushed an update that just did this, it was so discouraging. So I'm going to hold out judgment. I'm sure we'll get an update early this week, either Monday or Tuesday, and then we can kind of see what changes if they actually were listening. I hope they remove the tethering. Like, that is a terrible idea. It doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, I hope that they fix the dodge. So yeah, we'll just kind of see what happens at that point.
Yeah, I feel you. But high hopes. I mean, my hopes, like going forward, the future and everything for the game, is that they fix this. They get a better idea about what everyone wants going forward and stuff like that. Continue to deliver more and more missions. You know, more operations. Expand on it. Give us more enemies. You know, maybe at some point I would like to see an expansion that comes with like right now they're adding in extra missions and stuff that are related to everything having to do with the main campaign, and then eventually, like, I'll pay for drop another $40 expansion. I'll pay $40 for another expansion for this one. It'd be more than what I got from, you know, the other ones, stuff like that. But
be careful what you wish for.
Add the enemy. Give us orcs. I want the orcs. I want to fight the orcs.
Yeah.
Give us orcs. The whole expansion, a bunch of new operations and new maps and everything. And bro, let's go. Destiny who?
There's so much they can do with the IP. There really is. And so I'm curious to see where they take it. I'm not writing this game off. I just want them to fix what they broke and then kind of see what happens.
Yep. 100%. All right. But still highly ranked on my list there.
I would agree.
Hey, I don't need to stop recording. Let's take a quick break so I can grab a drink, though, because I ain't got no water up here.
Okay.
And so I can kick everybody out of here, too.
And when we come back, we'll talk about maybe the top 5 of my Steam Fest. And was there anything else you want to talk about? Because I probably have about 20 minutes or so left.
Ooh, okay.
We're already at an hour and 30 minutes on the record.
Okay, yeah, we're at 1:20 on. Okay. Well, if you only got another 20 minutes, let's just keep rolling then. Let's just roll through it.
All right.
I'm good. All right, so
you do the segue.
Oh, no. All right. And then you said you want to talk about the Steam Zipperfest hide the salami extra meat package.
Yep, that's the one. So Steam does Steam Fest, and it's a great way for like indie developers or just any game developers. They can put their game out there, get a lot of traction. And I've been playing a lot of games this weekend from Steam Fest. You want to hear about it?
No. What do you got? I saw some that you were playing the other day. Looked pretty interesting. I saw the precincts and the teams and all that cool stuff.
Yep. So I played about 12, and I think I just want to focus on my top 5 because I was not expecting any of this, but these I just love for their own specific reason. And so I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to start with number 5, and that would be Linked, Lynked, Banner of the Spark. So this is an indie game. It's by the developer is called Fuzzybot, which I apologize. I never heard of them. But it's a roguelike, and it's a co-op roguelike. It's actually really, really cool. It's one that you have to kind of experience yourself, but you fight things basically what they refer to as combots, and then you gain power. It's really difficult to explain, but the idea is co-op roguelite is basically what it is. And I really like the graphics about it. I don't want to spend too much time on this one because it was fun. It's especially fun with a friend, but even by yourself, it's a great game. The next one, I would say number 4 would be Dimensionals. This was one of the ones that I streamed last night that you got to see. So this I actually really like because I'm a huge Slay the Spire fan, which Slay the Spire is a roguelike card game. And this is very akin to that. It's almost like that meets Pokemon because you have different characters that you can level up through your progression. And you basically have cards, right? So you have 3 characters and you assign your cards to those characters. So there's really no RNG. There's no I'm drawing cards. So it's not a card deck battle game. Right. But it's almost like Slay the Spire without the deck, right? So you take the deck out, you assign your skills or passives to your characters, and then you progress through series of levels, and that's where the roguelike comes into play, because if you die, if your party wipes, the game's over. I mean, you go back to the start.
Yeah.
But I really like that one. This one's called Dimensionals. It's by Mino Games. Once again, never heard of them, and that's why I like Steamfest, man. I'm huge into indies. Like some of my favorite games of all time are indie games. And so the fact that I can experience these games before they even come out, I mean, I added like 8 games to my wish list, and I plan on picking them up when they do come out. So that was number 4. Number 3 is Windblown. This one is amazing. So this is another co-op roguelike game, but this is very much like Hades. And as far as the combat system is concerned, it has beautiful graphics. This was the one that you did see me play that you were commenting on.
The one that was very much like the Vampire Survive?
Nope, that's my number 1 game. We'll get there, I promise. This is the one that you were like, hey, what are you? And I said, I am a guinea pig. Do you remember?
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So the
one that had like 2.5D graphics.
Yep.
And yeah, that was legit. That was looking crazy.
Yeah, it's really good. The combat is super tight. It's by Motion Train, which I feel bad for not ever hearing of these people or these developers. Oh, wait, no. This is the people by Dead Cells. So that's huge. Like Dead Cells is one of the best indie, in my opinion, one of the best indie games.
Oh, yeah. I played, me and my kid, we played Dead Cells. That was one of our like go through and tear it down games. And we play a lot of Dead Cells.
Right. I mean, it's great. And so this one is by Dead Cells, but it is co-op. You can play, I think, up to 3 players. I saw Co Carnage play it. Shout out to Co. Been a huge fan for years. But I saw him and 2 people play it. And it's just really, really neat to see that these teams are taking an existing genre of roguelike and adding new ways to play. Like if you had told me previously I'd be able to play Hades with a friend, I would say you're insane that it wouldn't work. But this definitely works. So that would be my number 3. Number 2 would be Precinct. So you didn't get to watch me play this one because you actually got off about the time that I was getting into this. But man, what an awesome game. So I really enjoy the graphics. This one is by Fallen Tree Games, which once again, not really sure what they've done in the past. But this one is you're basically a cop in the 80s, and you're tasked with hunting down criminals, driving your police car, arresting and booking. And I just love the sim aspect of it. It is set in the 1980s, so you kind of have some of those early 80s stigmas whenever it comes to police officers. Like, I think the first thing you do is go to a hot dog stand in New York. I mean, there you go. I feel like they probably could have went with a donut shop, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it's very different. These days, it'd be a cronut shop.
Yeah, for sure. So, but let's talk about what I felt was the best indie game in the Steamfest, and that would be the Jotun Slayer, the Hordes of Hell. This is the one that you watched me play quite a bit of yesterday. This is by Games Farm. This game is literally Vampire Survivors on steroids. Like, the graphics look amazing. What I really like about it is it's almost like Vampire Survivors meets Hades, because you employ help by these gods. And I think I had like Freya was there, and then Thor was there, and Loki was there. And so you can kind of like, as you level up, you get to choose if you want to improve your character or improve god skills, basically what they are. Yeah. And I really enjoyed this one. I just was not expecting it. I put way more time into this demo than I did any other one by a significant margin. I got to play all 3 classes that were available in the beta or in the demo, whatever it is. It was like a melee character, an archer, and a wizard. Made it up to the hard difficulty, which is the 3rd difficulty. But yeah, really, really impressed with that. Highly recommend it. It is definitely a day one purchase for me. Did you get to play any of the games from the Steam Fest?
I downloaded, what is it, Lovecraft Tycoon or something like that.
Okay.
Some kind of a game that I started it, but I was playing it like I was also supposed to be working at the time, so but
now, were you big into Hades when did you ever play Hades?
I think I played it. I don't know where I played it.
You would remember.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I did download it somewhere and start it and just kind of never really got too far into it. Roguelikes have never been, there's a number of them that I have started, I have gotten into, I have played a little bit, and then I've just been like, I'm over that. They're just really easy for me to get over. Like, I think the, what was that big roguelike? Like, it was technically a roguelike, but it was a 3D shooter game on PS5. Like, one of the early launch games there. I can't remember what it's called, but
I'm not sure.
Why is my brain not giving me
on PS5?
Knowledge? Yeah. Let me. I know it's on here somewhere. Hold on, give me half a second, and I will. But yeah, games like that don't really like hold my attention for too long. But they're fun. I like them. Like you mentioned. Was doing Dead Cell. Played a lot of Dead Cell. Like I just got not Control. Where's the other one? Returnal. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, Returnal. Man, that was a great game. I'll never forget getting my platinum.
On it. Then I just was like,
It was fun. Unfortunately, when Returnal came out, there was a game saving glitch where I was only down to I just needed 2 trophies to get the platinum, and I lost my game save and had to start all the way over. But I loved it so much I did, and I literally started back over from scratch and ended up getting the platinum. It just took me twice as long, but I loved it. The reason why I was asking if you were big into Hades, because I know you're a huge Ninja Turtles fan, and there is a game on Steam Fest, and it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, they have isn't that one? I believe that is an expansion to. Is it the expansion or is that a new sequel? Because there's another Ninja Turtles game that came out not super long ago.
Yeah, you're thinking of the side scroller one. So this one is
beat 'em up.
Yeah, you're thinking of the beat 'em up. This is the roguelike, and this is not the same. Not even the same team. The only similarities it has is it being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But this one is on Steam Fest. It came out. It's been out for a while. It's on Switch already, right? But it's just now coming to PC. I think it came to PC on the 1st of October. But the demo's out. Highly recommend it. Very, very fun. I did not include that in my list because it's already out. It's been out. And if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. But I highly recommend giving that a try. And that's all I got to say about Steam Fest.
Let me see. Coming soon. I see that. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. That is way different. Yo.
It's very good.
Looks like it.
It's kind of strange because you got the turtles doing magic, which I feel a certain way because that's not the turtles. But yeah, if I take that aspect out of it and just appreciate it as a game.
Part of the turtles. Yeah. There's some magic always going on in the Ninja Turtles. Kind of depends on who they're up against, but I'll check it out. I'm down for it. I love me some Ninja Turtles. Those old school beat 'em ups were right up there with freaking. Actually, it was like the hierarchy was you had Simpsons at the top, followed by Ninja Turtles, and then way down there somewhere, sadly enough, I gotta say, was the old Marvel X-Men games. They were cool. They were cool, but they were disappointing because I wanted better powers. But anyways, yeah. Last thing, speaking of beat 'em ups, Marvels, last thing that I want to throw out here before we go is that they officially announced that there's going to be no DLC for Spider-Man 2, and I am furious about it. And I think that in every way, except for combat, graphics, traversal, options, loading, just mechanical, basically every other way that probably matters. It officially makes Spider-Man 1 the superior game. Miles Morales as well, but yeah,
I don't know. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I loved Spider-Man 2. I felt like Spider-Man 2 was the cream of the crop. Like, I don't know what I would add to that game. Like, speaking of complete packages, like speaking of when we're talking about Space Marine 2, we're talking about your $60 gets you a full game. That's how I feel with Spider-Man 2. I do not feel that way about God of War Ragnarok. I don't want to go down that chain right now. That I don't want to, derail the conversation for what it is. But Spider-Man 2, what would you add to it? It's perfect. I mean, they introduced, for those that don't know, the credit scene introduces, I forget her name.
I would add into it what it teases and plays with us. I would add in there, I don't know, Carnage, or you could go, out of left field and you could add in something. I don't know. I think that
Cindy Moon. That's who I was thinking of.
This is all just a roundabout way. I think the reason that they're not going to add anything else is because they're going to kill off Peter Parker in the next one, which I'm not entirely against. I don't hate the idea of it, right? Because, again, I saw someone say something about that, and they were like very upset. I think they're just going to kill off Peter because blah, 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 and they downpowered him and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not worried about that, right? Because if you look at the comic in the universe where Miles Morales exists, he's there because actually Peter Parker dies. Like, right. That's kind of, how he becomes the main Peter Parker or the main Spider-Man there and stuff. So I'm not so as opposed to that. Peter Parker is still like my favorite Spider-Man, but a story is a story. Miles Morales is a great character. Like, as long as they do it right and do it well, I'm with it. But I do think that's where it's going to go from here. Which is even more why I would have loved to have had a more, they did Spider-Man 1. He had some DLC there, which was so, but still I enjoyed it. And then the next Spider-Man game was all Miles Morales, which was really good. And they did Spider-Man 2. I wouldn't have minded at least some DLC that was, again, going back, give us some more. Because I even felt like a lot of stuff going on. I don't know. I just feel like we need something a little more focused on Peter Parker personally. Like, would be some cool end this little chapter DLC before they kick off the next one, where they'll probably kill him off within the first half of the first act.
For sure, he's definitely getting got because they're going to introduce Cindy Moon. They already have Miles. Like, I personally feel like Spider-Man 2 was all about shifting the focus from Peter to Miles.
Yes. Very much so. Like,
which I'm not complaining about.
No, Miles Morales is really cool. Like, and he's honestly like if you boil it down, if you look at Miles Morales, he probably is like one of not the most powerful Spider-Mans. Like, that's just, people can be as mad as they want. The truth is the truth. He probably is the most powerful Spider-Man, except for like the original God Spider-Man guy. But like a cosmic Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. What is up, my dude?
So only push me on the swing because no one will push me on the swing.
He wants me to push on the swing
like 6 times. Uncle be down there in a minute, buddy. And
yeah, we're wrapping up.
Pushing on the swing, so it's hot out, but I will. Maybe you can ride me. We'll get something from the store or something. Yeah, it's just disappointing. I just think that he deserves a final chapter, something. Honestly, plus, I think would be really cool would be a very short. It doesn't have to be like broken up into 3 parts. They can break it however they want to, yada, 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 but it could be a 1-part thing with something more personal to Spider-Man, not just Spider-Mans, but to Peter Parker Spider-Man, which would be something having to do with, let's say, the Green Goblin, who I don't think they've introduced in here. Like, I can't recall a Green Goblin in this.
I feel like they've set it up with Harry, but they have not done anything with it.
Yeah, like there's really nothing there, and I don't want the next game to turn into Harry becoming the Green Goblin, killing Peter, and then him versus Miles Morales. That's not really what I'd like, right? But I would like something personal. Maybe him, him turning the Green Goblin becomes a bit too much of like, okay, well, it's just a rehash of the Venom thing, the Venom situation. But like something there with the Green Goblin, something personal, a very personal enemy. I mean, that is, his arch nemesis. Like everyone, forgets the Green Goblin is to Spider-Man what the Joker is to Batman. Like that is his guy.
Yeah,
yeah. And he has a lot of big enemies, but in my mind, at the end of the day, that is his guy, right? That's how I always put the two and two together. So to have one little, 1-2 part little end of the road DLC thing to kind of wrap things up, and here we go. I would just love to see it. I just want more of the game, honestly. We can wrap it up however we want to. I want more of the game. I don't want to wait until, the next thing comes out. I think that they're probably, rather than make that DLC, they probably want to keep everyone more focused on either getting started for the next one or just working on Wolverine, which we could do a whole show on Wolverine but that's it. I just want more Spider-Man, and to hear it,
it's heartbreaking.
Like full on saying it's not happening.
It's heartbreaking.
It sucks.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to pick it up on PC when it comes because I can't wait to experience that again. It's a good game. Yeah, it's a good game. I wish they were doing more with it, but you never know what Sony has up their sleeves and why maybe they had something planned, they canceled it. I don't know, man. But I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts?
Right, well, I think that's pretty much
where can people find you?
Really? What's that? Oh, you can find me probably one of the most active places is probably most likely over on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter. I'll never call it X outright. But you can find it anywhere at Risen Gaia. And yeah, I'll always be over there. You can hit me up on anything, and then hopefully we'll get this thing going regularly the way we intend to, and everything posted up, and you can always check us out here.
For sure. And you can find me on Twitch at Mr. Jericho. That's really the only place that I'm active right now, and I'm not even that active, but I would love to catch you all following. This is our first attempt at a podcast, so we're definitely open to feedback if anybody has any. We are wanting to grow, and your feedback matters.
I am sensitive though, so if you're like really mean,
he might cry.
I'll ignore. I'll ignore it all, and I'll say I'm just joking. It was a joke. But no, seriously. But yeah. Anyways, I think this was all awesome. I love getting together and talking about some of this stuff, and we'll work more on. We're gonna find how we're doing it all later. But for now, hope everyone has an awesome week, and yeah.
Catch you next time.